You've joined Prophecy Talk for analysis of world events and unfolding Bible prophecy, brought to light by prophecy expert and author Erika Grey of www.erikagray.com.
Welcome, folks, to Prophecy Talk, where you come for real Bible prophecy news and analysis. Today I'm going to talk about the rise of the false prophets. And to my shock, the false prophets are right within end-time Bible prophecy. But before I do, I want to relay a couple of comments. One from Joe Santos, and thank you, Joe, for being a loyal watcher on this channel or watching my videos. And Joe commented, "I'm saddened because too many believers cannot discern true Bible prophecy from outright lies. Even after being proven wrong, Dana Coverstone continues to get over 20,000 visitors. What a shame. His November prediction dreams did not happen." And Dana Coverstone has made many predictions, or several predictions, and they were like major, like the United States was going to be invaded by Russia and China, and it was all going to happen within a few months. Believe it or not, this was foretold in the Bible that this would happen, but I'm going to go to that after I go into Gloria's comment. And Gloria's is really scary because she wrote, "I wanted to get your opinion on the Noahide laws. Being Jewish, I am familiar with the Noahide laws. I am too. I understand that they are part of the Jewish teachings. And based on my looking over the Noahide laws, it looks like they derive from the Ten Commandments. All over social media, I hear teaching saying that the Noahide laws would be used to behead Christians and believers in Yeshua. I know you investigate what the world government is doing, so I would love to hear your information on the matter." Now then she elaborates, and this is really scary because this is obviously a very false teaching. "Thank you so much for writing, Erika, for writing me back concerning Noahide laws. This weekend, WATB TV and the D-Noons are having this big conference in Tennessee teaching about the Noahide laws and how Israel is heading up global government to enforce Noahide laws to behead Christians. Both sites appear to be very anti-Semitic. What's so scary is both websites have about 300,000 to 400,000 followers. I appreciate your website and the truth you bring to counteract," and I can't get the rest of the comment. Okay, that's really scary. That is so scary. But Joe, you've noticed the same thing, only in a different direction. But I want to show you right now that Jesus predicted this and foretold this as a sign of the end times. Matthew 24:11, and I've included 12 so that you know we're in the end time period. "And many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold." Now we already see this happening, so that's why I added 12, so that you know that this is in the context of end time signs, which is what Matthew 24 is known for. "And many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many." And what I find really interesting is that most, when they read that, and a lot are familiar with that as an end time sign, think that they wouldn't be one of the people who would get deceived. But we can tell, Joe, and we can tell Gloria by these numbers that many are deceived. And Satan must just be having some laugh over the fact that of one of his greatest deceptions is in the area of end time prophecy. Now, concerning the Noahide laws, that is just absolutely right, Gloria. Another form of anti-Semitism. It is such fiction. It is so ridiculous, but the fact that it would even get these kinds of numbers, not to mention that it's anti-Semitic, which is a grievous sin to God. This is just wrong on like so many levels, and yet they've got these big numbers. And what's also ridiculous is when I looked over the website that Gloria provided, you've got some who looks like he's a heavy metal rocker redneck who's like, heading the website. And it's like, wait, this is the person who's going to provide you with information about the inner workings of government? And I understand that also there was another website with other people and they didn't have that image. But in other words, that's the image for the site. And it looked just off the wall. People are wanting this. And Gloria commented that it's porn or fear porn. And they're wanting this fear porn. And sadly, it's right within the evangelical Christian community, so that those who are actually watching, and that's why I modeled my work on the Magi. The Magi were the academics, and the study of prophecy is a real academic study. I had a fellow also who came on and commented, and he brought out a really good point. I don't even know if he's a regular follower, but he happened to tune in to Arman Mkhitaryan. Anyway, he tuned in to something that I broadcast about Turkey, and I was talking about the Ezekiel 38 war, and he basically said that he was explaining to me that a couple of those nations really despise each other and couldn't be part of this coalition because of how they despise one another. It has to do with Armenia and the total disdain on the part of Armenia. Okay, Armenia being in a coalition with Turkey or Azerbaijan, he said, would be the same if Israel allied with Nazi Germany. He had a really good point, and I had stated that on the outward, while the coalition is all piecing together, what on the outward, when we look at the nations and we see that each of these nations have relations with Russia, what also needed to be looked at, which I just did not look at, I haven't gone into that piece of it, is to also see what these nations in the Ezekiel 38 wars coalition, what are those relations with each other? And this is what he's highlighting here, is that one of those is not good at all. So that would also be an area to watch, to see if it changes, to do further research, to see if coalitions, look at past coalitions and see if all of the nations that were on board in past coalitions were also had good relations with each other, even though they formed a military coalition with another nation or a leading nation. And there's a lot of details in this. When people talk about global government, it's almost there's this thing where, it's going to be a global government and it's that simple, but it's not that simple, because if you look at the Revelation, and I'm going to be doing even a study on this or a video on this, there's actual nations that are mentioned. So how can you have this new world order that has become such a catchphrase, and not new world order the way it means, by what it means in geopolitics. I'm talking about by what it means to the evangelical conspiracy cult. How do you have this new world order, and yet you have the Antichrist entering nations in the book of Daniel near the time of the end, going forth furiously to destroy? How do you have separate nations mentioned, such as the kings of the East? You have Jeremiah 22:6, which I believe identifies the United States. It's the king of the north and a great nation from the sides of the earth going against Israel. I believe this is talking about Armageddon. And I can go on and on about the different nations that are mentioned, as well as the revived Roman Empire, which is also Babylon. And then you have at the taking of Babylon in Revelation 18, how the kings of the earth are, are upset, that this is now gone. I mean, this is at this final destruction of Babylon. How do you have the kings of the earth if you have this new world order that's this conspiracy and it's just this handful of people? Well, I'm going to tell you that government is a lot more complicated than that. It's not all black and white, but it's just, so the point I'm bringing is this is an intensive, it is a serious study, and sometimes it's not instant. And Gloria, it's not just fear porn. It's like a drug fix. It's like, give me the adrenaline hit. And the other thing is, it's all happening now. It's like tomorrow. I've been hearing that for 40 years. I've been a Christian for a long time. They've been saying this stuff with the conspiracies for a long time now, but somehow with the internet, it's gotten so major followings, and it's being used by Satan to deceive the elect. The point is that if those things were true, they would have happened, and they would have happened a long time ago, but they're not. And then even what Gloria's talking about, this group with the Noahide laws, I just think if you're addicted to fear porn and you just want to be afraid, there's something wrong. Are you really looking at Bible prophecy? It's an intensive study. Okay, for instance, I've come out and I've stated that we're going to see Turkey move closer to Russia. But now the European Union, just within a week, Ursula von der Leyen came out and stated, and by the way, this was at a press conference, and this is not in the news because a lot of my news that I get to provide to you is behind the scenes, as well as certain headlines. And headlines, I don't focus on a lot of I don't actually focus on U.S. media. Most of my headlines are from across the Atlantic. And usually from, I like anything, of course, out of Reuters and Associated Press, or top-notch magazines, newspapers, or online papers. And usually I try to follow the same ones that world leaders are also reading and quoting. And that's pretty much what I follow. So what I wanted to say about what von der Leyen did was she basically came out and said that they now need to try to restore their relations with Turkey and bring Turkey kind of back in. Well, I can almost say that that's not going to happen because we know Turkey's going to get closer to Russia. But still, when you hear a piece of news like that, or excuse me, a piece of news that was at a press conference that she stated that, when you hear her stating that, wow, this is now going to play out. So in other words, it's a very, very complicated, intensive study. You have to basically be 24/7 with news, behind the scene news, not to mention with intensive study in the scriptures. So short of that, you're going to get this. And many false prophets shall arise and deceive many. And I'm sorry, I'm really going on here, but I guess I never thought that I would be here saying that with the rise of cults that I remember writing about in the early 90s in my Seed of the Antichrist, I never thought that the cults would also be rising within the evangelical community and within end-time Bible prophecy would be some of the biggest Christian cults, such as Gloria, the one that you provided, that group, such as Joe, Dana Coverstone. He now has a cult, and it just shocks me that the Word of God is not enough. Is the revelation not enough? Is all of the details that are given not enough, that we have to rely on somebody with false dreams and visions, a false prophet, and yet people still flock to him? And again, we're going to look at Jesus' statement, and many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. So, the fact that my channel is small is okay. I'm being faithful to what God wants me to do. And I know that those who are seriously watching are going to be few in number, and many are going to be deceived. It's just the times that we're in right now. But what really shocks me is the people who tune in to End Time Bible Prophecy and tune into all the false prophets. They come across a channel like mine, and it's not fear porn, and it's not telling them that everything is going to happen tomorrow. What the reality is this, that the closer we get and the more specific things come, you can see what the gaps are. And I'm here trying to report to you those various pieces. So for more, subscribe to my channel.
Jesus closes the book of Revelation, declaring, "Behold, I am coming quickly." John 20:21 records, "These things are written, that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that believing you may have life in his name." John 3:15 promises that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Trust in Jesus today. He lives, and he is returning.